During the break, some of the folks in the chat room were pointing out, I think Bob Kincaid pointed out, remember Phil Donahue was fired by MSNBC for criticizing the run-up to the George W. Bush's lies and murder in the Iraq War. Yeah, lest we forget. And on the other side of MSNBC, Chris Matthews. Do you remember Chris Matthews just about having an orgasm when George W. Bush claims he landed the jet on the aircraft carrier and it got off with some kind of a towel or something stuffed in his flight suit? Remember that? The codpiece that he was wearing? He just comes swaggering out there. What a son of a bitch. And then behind him, that great big banner, mission accomplished. And, of course, it's still not accomplished, is it? But see, they don't care. You know, they don't care. George W. had to overcome his daddy. It was an entire Oedipal thing. The only thing lacking was having sex with his mom. He had to overcome his daddy. He had to invade Iraq again. He had to kill the king of Iraq. But George, it wasn't a king. I don't care. But I digress. So back to Brad Blog. There's just a whole little firestorm of stuff flying between Lawrence Wilkerson, Powell's chief of staff, Colonel Wilkerson at the time this murderous enterprise was being put together, and David Swanson, who accuses all of them being lying sons of bitches. Now, in the documentary, Hubris, Selling of the Iraq War, according to Brad's site, are some new pieces of information and commentary that have come to light since the original publication of Hubris, which was in 2007. Some of those revolutions come by way of Wilkerson, and who was, you know, U.S. Army colonel and Powell's chief of staff at the time. When Powell was talking about the chemical, biological, and nuclear threats that Saddam was posing, and, oh, my God, we have to do something. We have to do something now. Every piece of evidence presented by Powell at the UN, and remember, it was supposed to have come from various intelligence agencies, turned out to be complete lies, totally false. There was not one bit of truth, not one. Now, when you take a look at that presentation, when the rest of the world took a look at that presentation and then took a look at the results, how could the United States have maintained any kind of respect anywhere on earth? Fear? Maybe so. But respect? To sit there and use your Secretary of State and your entire national security team, Condoleezza Rice, the vice president, everybody, all these swine bastards who were intent on doing what the neocons who were affiliated with the Likud party in Israel, exactly what they wanted done, the invasion of Iraq, the murder of Saddam Hussein. And they did it. They did it. I'm not defending Saddam Hussein, but I will tell you, he used to be a great ally of the United States, didn't he? It was the government of the United States that prompted Saddam to start the war between Iraq and Iran back in the bad old days of the Reagan administration. A war that went on for what, 7 years, 8 years? A war of attrition that wound up with how many millions of Iranians and Iraqis dead? Oh, my God, my God, my God. Oh! Later on, Powell described the speech as what he called, quote, a painful blot on his career. Really? A blot on your career? Oh, gosh. What about the dead men and women, Americans, Iraqis, and God knows how many other people? A blot on your career, you disgusting, self-serving bastard, you. But you are typical, aren't you, Colin Powell? You are typical of anybody involved in the national security state that used to be the United States of America. It's a blot on your career. With up to 1 million Iraqis slaughtered, thousands of Americans dead, grievously injured and wounded, half their heads blown away. Post-traumatic stress disorder running through this country now at a level where we are losing more of our veterans from suicide than from combat deaths, and you son of a bitch, call it a blot on your career.
Okay, a big blot.
Wow. Don't you mean a blood clot on your career? There used to be a time when, and a place, probably Japan, when the honorable thing to do when one had done something this egregious, the honorable thing to do was seppuku or harakiri, the ritual suicide, because one had brought so much dishonor to one's country with so much bloodshed, with so much shame. But in this country, it was a blot on my career. Go to bradblog.com and read some of this, or watch the video, or do whatever you want to, or not. We'll be back after the break.